It was late in the evening, and you finished your weekly therapy session with Charlie. For never having trained to be a real therapist, she was actually quite good at saying just the right things to make you feel like an absolute piece of garbage for the sins you committed in life. Which seemed to be the intended effect. At least you weren't dragged into Vaggie's therapy sessions. Serpentius was still removing shrapnels out of his tail. You were lazily letting your arm hang down the sofa as you stared into the flames of the fireplace in the lobby. You were a little high on some edibles angel dust had gifted you on your last birthday, and you didn't feel like doing anything at all. A little bit of drool was rolling out of your mouth as you stared. From somewhere behind you, you heard a door opening. In your delirium, you only barely made out a person's footsteps, though they were coming closer. "Tina?" That was Vaggie's voice. You rubbed your eyes, groaning. "Tina!" Vaggie stepped on the stairs. Why was she shouting your name? With your head feeling like a bag of sand, you slowly raised your body off of the sofa as you watched her go upstairs. "I'm here," you said before falling back onto the cushions with a mild hum. Vaggie, though, turned around too late, only hearing your voice but not seeing you. She growled angrily. "Tina, where are you hiding?" Slowly raised your arm, snapping your fingers, causing her to sigh and approached you. Her arms crossed, she stood before you. "Charlie's making cookies. She ordered me to tell everyone." "Good, I was getting the munchies," she deadpanned. "Who gave you drugs?" "What?" With your eyes narrowed to the point where the word looked just a little less blurry, you sat up, rubbing your head. "Who gave you whatever you're on right now?" "Chill, chill." You raised both hands defensively. "Just my birthday present. I just chose to eat it today." Damn it, thought Vaggie. Of course. Your birthday was before Angel Dust went cold turkey. Scoffing, she said, "Just so you know, this isn't just something that makes you high, it also makes your asshole widen easier." You blinked. Obviously, Vaggie only said that because she was angry, but considering it was stuff from Angel, that made a lot of sense now. I guess I keep that in mind." Regardless of Vaggie's anger, you slouched your body over to the hotel's kitchen. It was surprisingly clean, though. Charlie must be a good cook. You could already smell the cookies. With a smile, you said, "I am mentally on Mars, but my body is here, Charlie." You leaned over the kitchen's counter as you watched the Princess of Hell smile at you. "Hey, Tina." She was mixing frosting. "Well, you look happy. I thought after today's session you'd be down in the dumps all day. I'm glad you're okay." You didn't even remember what you talked about. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." You yawned. It took you a few minutes of silence, of her just mixing and watching her, when you had a thought. You raised a finger. "Wait, have you thought of my special dietary requirements?" You tilted your head until you looked at her upside down. It took Charlie a minute or two to respond as she pretended like she forgot, but then Charlie opened the oven and pulled out the last tray on which had a neatly packed group of very red cookies. Great. You were a leech demon. Leech demon were semi-amphibious demons usually found in an area of hell called the cold storage. However, since a recent sinkhole had massively widened the accessibility of the cold storage, the more aquatic denizens of that place had slowly been migrating into the pentagram. While outwardly appearing human, leech demons had two needs that others did not. One was blood. Though thankfully, unlike vampire demons who solely relied on it, leech demons like you could eat normal food as long as what's spiked with the stuff. Even Angel Dust's edibles, you needed to spike with just a tiny bit of your own blood. You had white, slightly translucent skin that very much showed your pumping veins. Big, round black eyes, and 2 rows of teeth so sharp, multiple times since you became a demon, you had completely bitten off your tongue by accident. You had thin, white hair that had just barely grown past your neck.
Oh, by the way, Tina?
Your eyes met Charlie's. She was holding a little bowl filled with cookies that smelled strangely salty.
I did some experimental baking to cater to Alastor's unique palate. Would you mind bringing these meat cookies to him? He should be in his studio.
Inhaling, you turned, taking the bowl. It was then, when you stood next to Charlie, when she finally noticed that in fact you weren't just happy because you got over your various human world traumas, but that you in fact were high. She looked at you like a mother who was trying to hide her disappointment with a sad, sad smile. Though you were mentally still on Mars and didn't notice. Rubbing the drool off your lips, you made your way to Alastor's recording studio on the top floor. It was a strange little construction, like a tumor growing out of the hotel's building. Slowly climbing up the metal steps into the glass dome, only to find it empty. Huh. Not even one of Alastor's shadow puppets was here. The radio console stood before you, blinking, alluringly so, as if it tried to seduce you with its flashing Morse code light show. Biting your lower lip mischievously, just soft enough to not draw blood, you placed Alastor's meat cookies on a nearby coffee table before sitting down on his giant, throne-like office chair, the black leather creaking wonderfully beneath you. Wow. Where did Alastor get the most comfy chair in all of hell? Holy shit! You could already feel yourself drift. And to not pass out, you slapped yourself in the head with the palm of your left hand, inhaling, and then exhaling in surprise. Punching yourself just unlocked a memory. You vaguely knew how this worked. Yes, you remembered. You had been in high school. You were the president of the radio club. Sure, what you had back then was nothing compared to the high professional setup Alastor had, but you at least somewhat could tell what everything did. Though you couldn't explain exactly how or what it did, you knew which buttons to push to do things that needed to happen. Your fingers took hold of the studio's radio microphone. Alastor wasn't on air, right? He probably wouldn't mind if you roleplayed a little. Though then you accidentally brushed against the unmute button of the microphone. Oh, you remembered how it was way back when. Come on, you'd be gone in 10 minutes. He would not mind. He would not even know you had been here. Maybe you could hide between Charlie's legs after you had just... Perhaps you could hide between Charlie's legs after you had your fun, just in case. Of course, if you weren't high right now, you never, ever in your unlife would have done what you did next. Meanwhile, Alastor was at his favorite tailor. Well, technically at 3 regularly. Alastor, meanwhile, was at his favorite tailor. Well, technically. He had 3 he considered his favorite, and where he regularly went to. This one was just the closest to the hotel. And, well, back in the day when he still cared about such frivolous things such as territory, this one had been under his control. Even his old communications radio still hung above the store's entrance as a sort of memento of the past. And so he was quite perturbed when music suddenly blasted through the radio. Music he didn't usually use. Actually, he never used. With an offended look, he looked at the door, while the tailor, an imp named Sasha, was working his magic on his coat. Though even the imp suddenly shook as he heard a voice come from the radio that wasn't Alastor's, causing the imp to slip and poke Alastor's skin. But as the imp went to apologize, Alastor didn't react, as his eyes were focused on the radio speaker.
Hello, Bright Layer! This is Radio Wolf. Woo! I'm your host, Tina Grimskull, and we're back. All of whom will remember me from St. Patrick's High School in Wisconsin, America, from the year 2000 to 2004. Because I know most of you definitely ended up here. Just too bad for Jessica Peabody, who can't listen to us. I mean, come on. I bet she's right now on Earth, still alive, cooking for her husband. Haha, fucking teacher's pet. Anyways, this is Radio Wolf.
Alastor's eyes twitched as you played the sound effect of a wolf howling over his radio. How dare you?
And we are here to bring you the latest gossip and only the greatest tunes live here from the studio.
Another sound effect played, this time of a piano being dropped, like in some terrible 60s cartoon. Alastor inhaled. Stay calm, he thought.
And before we begin with our first show of the day, let's play some music. This is an old classic, an old ditty, I say. I'm sure all of you remember, back from the year 2003. It's Seven Nation Army from the White Stripes.
Alastor gripped his cane so tightly the eye on its tip wiggled in pain.
Sir Alastor,
muttered Sasha.
It's fine, Sasha. Keep working,
said Alastor, trying to contain his emotions. The imp gulped loudly and continued sewing. Alastor crossed his arms. So far, he only was offended. He wasn't furious yet. After the song ended once again, your voice was heard.
A classic, always beloved, always listened to. Hey, Bobby Fling, if you're down here, remember how I used to torment you with the Seven Nations Army? All of us singing it at lunch. I remember you punched Roberto Nash in the face for singing. While you took a piss, the entire school was laughing that day. Anyways.
Alastor could practically hear as you made a spin in his chair, causing his right eye to twitch.
Before we go into our first show of the day, Gossip with Tiny Tina, we are shouting out our sponsors.
Alastor sharply inhaled. If you said anything V-brand related, he would personally rip your soul out and devour it whole.
Today's Gossip with Tina is brought to you by Burger Mouth. Burger brand Mouth Burgers and Uncle Dill's Dill Pickles. Dill's Pickles, the garden sausage.
Those weren't even real brands in hell, or even on Earth. Alastor, had to applaud your creativity.
And finally, Mouth Barnacle Cereal. Mouth Barnacle Cereal, the only cereal with true grit. Barnacles not included.
Alastor snorted.
Sire?
Alastor shook his head.
Sasha, I think I actually want to listen to this.
He shuddered.
Ugh. I can't believe I actually just said that.
Out loud, no less, he thought. In the meantime, you began the gossip hour. Just random rumors you 100% pulled out of your ass, coming up with them as you went. Alastor could tell. There were very light cracks in your voice whenever you added more stuff to your lies. But they were entertaining lies. such as Katie Killjoy secretly having been replaced by a cross-dressing man who, quite frankly, did the job way better and way more entertaining than the real woman did. Or how the fact that the existence of angels who committed murder on a grand scale every 12 to 6 months, well, that technically went against the Sixth Commandment, and that therefore they had no moral high ground to speak of. This caused a few demons, who also were at the tailor, to laugh out loud. Sasha finally finished his work on Alastor's coat.
Wonderful work, my man, as always.
Alastor snapped his fingers, causing a shadow demon to give the imp his well-earned pay.
I shall come back soon, though next time, without that interrupting us.
He pointed with his staff at the radio. Sure thing, sire. Grinding his teeth, Alastor made his way back to the hotel. Though as he did so, he couldn't help but hear your radio show be played in multiple cars and even a restaurant he walked by. Music once again was playing, some teeny crap from 1999 about some girl being the one desire for the entire boy group. Ugh, manufactured garbage with no artistry. Though it seemed that, despite everything, the people enjoyed the randomly infused chaos of your show. As when Alastor walked past an electronics store, he saw more people looking at radios than TVs. Though, fortunately for you, Vox didn't seem to have noticed you just yet. Probably due to your lack of actually being able to control radio waves. And as such, you only really had a small part of the pentagram actually hearing you. Still, it seemed to entertain people just enough to tune out of Vox's grasp. And this was the moment Alastor decided that perhaps torturing you was a little too much. Maybe he would just hurt you a little. 30 minutes later, he stepped up to the metal stairs of the radio studio, his eyes falling on you as you leisurely hung on his chair. He growled. You were talking about some crap he didn't care about, at least until... And on the #1 spot of hottest male overlord, beating Zestial only by a single point, is... You reached for the button that played a drum roll. Alastor watched you snicker as it played. Alastor the radio demon! Okay. Alastor was a prideful creature. Maybe he let you talk just a little bit longer. Quietly he entered your radio studio, or more, his radio studio, as you began to list rather superficial reasons why he would be considered hot. The Overlord then smirked. He just noticed the cookies. Swiping them from the table, he began to slowly and quietly eating them. Charlie's meat cookies were a delight. He should probably ask her for the recipe. But, ladies and gentlemen, demons of all ages, it isn't just his appearance that makes him the hottest dude of all time. It's his power. Oh, ladies, yeah, you know, Mama Tina loves her dominant boys. Just listening to that barely understandable radio tone of his voice commands strength, power, and determination. This man will become #1 of all of us on a heartbeat. You just know it. Watch out, Lucifer. There's a challenger among your You stopped mid-sentence. Through the reflection of the window in front of you, you finally noticed 2 red, glowing eyes looking back at you. You cleared your throat. But I must apologize, my babies of the Inferno. This is already the end of Radio Wolf for today. And maybe forever. You know us, pirate radios. We can't afford to keep the lights on 24/7. I hope you enjoyed the show. And Alastor placed a hand on your shoulder, his digits painfully digging into your flesh. A sign that you probably should speed this up. Goodbye! You pressed the mute button on his microphone, slowly placed it on the console,
and then said, "I'm so—"
No, you're not.
He interrupted your apology. "I'm not. You're right," you admitted. Alastor placed his arms playfully on the headrest of the chair, his chin resting on your head.
Tell me, Tina, what would you do if someone just barged into your recording studio and decided to make a mockery of the art of radio itself?
You bit your lower lip hard enough to draw blood, almost biting it off in the process. And so, bravely, you had an idea. Thanks to what transpired early in the day, when you ate those edibles. I'd have sex with them? Confused, Alastor took a step back. What? He barked. This is a trick question. If I had said I would kill them, you would kill me. If I said I would put them in a prison cube for 10 years, you would do exactly that. So there is not a zero chance that maybe you would take whatever route I suggest, no matter what? Oh God, if you could die again, you would right now. Alastor inhaled sharply. Well, you did make him chuckle once, with those fake ads. He rubbed his face.
Fine then.
He huffed. Wait, what? He turned the chair until you faced him, and then he pressed his lips on yours. You shook, confused. Alastor was a little wooden, his lips hard and his demeanor robotic, and definitely angry. His tongue invading your mouth harshly, twisting, turning, throbbing, coating your throat in his thick, tar-like salvia. It was very forceful. It didn't even flinch when it brushed against your sharp teeth. Instead, he simply accepted it. Minutes later, he pulled out of you. Lewd, wet noises. Instead, he simply accepted it. It just adding to the lewd, wet cacophony noise. Instead, he simply accepted it. It just added more slippery noises to the cacophony going on between your mouths. And minutes later, he pulled out. Neon red blood rolling from his lips. As he looked down at you, with a mild disgust.
Tina, after tonight, darling, if I ever see you uninvited in my studio, I will tear your soul out, contract or not, and I will set it alight until nothing but ash remains of your corpse.
Am I really getting away with this? His eyes narrowed. And then, Alastor's claws took hold of the buttons of his coat. Wait, we're really doing this? Your eyes widened. Maybe the stretching of your butthole by the edibles would come in useful after all. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the very end. I'm very glad you enjoyed it so far. But before I say goodbye, I would like to shout out all of my lovely high-tier channel members. Twilight, Zoe, Angel, Angry Boxman, Chasta Misery, Hella, Bit, Melofia, Anonymous Weep, Sleepy Town, Zachary, Nicodemus D, Ash Wisdom, Ikea, The Tribute, and AJ Anime Girl. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of my other channel members. You're all wonderful little mates. Thank you for watching. Bye.